It's an absolute farce. What's a farce? The fact that millions and millions and millions of people, which is most of the human population, have not realized this disposition of already happiness, joy, delight, intimacy, humor, intelligence. The open hand disposition means the whole body is open. The mind, the head is open. There's this feeling of absolute ecstasy, joy, delight flowing through the body. And because the unenlightened person, which I was at one time, the unenlightened body-mind, the unenlightened disposition is always wanting to be made happy, to be made acceptable, to be made loved and liked and accepted and acknowledged and winned over. The unenlightened disposition, represented by the clenched fists, is never satisfied. This is always satisfied. This is never satisfied. It's like that, we've all heard of it. The person's looking for his glasses. Now, where are my glasses? Now, where did I last put them? Where did I last use them? I'm sure they were over there. Where are my glasses? And in all that time, he or she didn't realize they were on his head already. The Emperor's New Clothes. Do we all know the story? Where the Emperor, well, the story is by Hans Christian Andersen. And there's the Emperor, naked as the day he was born, but he believes he's wearing a suit, and a suit of finery which has been made for him, and the seamstress or the tailor fooled him into thinking that he was going to be wearing or buying or purchasing the best suit ever. And it's so fantastic, it's so very light that it's invisible. I can't remember the whole story. Maybe I should find that out. Let's find it out. And the crowd, when he goes out to display, not realizing he's displaying himself, he thinks he's only displaying the wonderful new suit. The crowds go wild and say, fantastic suit. Look at him in all his refinery. And there's this one little boy who says, oh, he's naked as the day that he was born. Let's find the story of the Emperor's New Clothes. So we're talking about the disposition of the unenlightenment or unenlightened person, which is the majority of the world, and the enlightened disposition. Let's see if we can find it here. A Fairy Tale by Hans Christian Andersen. is about a vain emperor who gets exposed before his subjects. Do we have the story here? The tale concerns an emperor who has an obsession with fancy new clothes and spends lavishly on them at the expense of state matters. One day, 2 con men visit the emperor's capital. Posing as weavers, they offer to supply him with the magnificent clothes that are invisible to those who are incompetent or stupid. The gullible emperor hires them, and they set up looms and pretend to go to work. A succession of officials, starting with the emperor's wise and competent minister, and then ending with the emperor himself, visit them to check their progress. Each sees that the looms are empty, but pretends otherwise to avoid being thought a fool. Finally, the weavers report that the emperor's suit is finished. They mime dressing him, and he sets off in a procession before the whole city. It doesn't say whether he's wearing underpants or not. The townsfolk uncomfortably go along with the pretense, not wanting to appear inept or stupid, until a child blurts out that the emperor is wearing nothing at all. The people then realize that everyone has been fooled. Although startled, the emperor continues the procession, walking more proudly than ever. The fate of the con men is not revealed. Well, isn't that just what Christmas is about? Society has fooled us, and Christianity and all the religions, fooled us. It's all man-made for the sake of economy, for the sake of doing well, businesses, for the sake of families staying together. What's the glue that keeps a family together? The gifting of presents? All that food, gorging on roast chicken and roast beef and hams and banquets. You're not interested in me when I come along to offer you a gift. You want to see what's in the gift. You want to see what's in the parcel. You aren't full of love and full of happiness and joy in seeing me. Not really. You want the chocolate. You want the perfume. You want to know how much you've been loved. How much has he spent on me this year? Sorry to be cynical, but this is what it's about. And Jesus, on his cross, or in his little manger at this time of the year. I'm not saying there's anything wrong in giving, in gifting and giving, of course not. But what's wrong is the disposition of the clenched fist, of the expectancy, of wanting to be made happy, the immaturity of it all, and the feeling of rejection when you don't get what you want. Very few people see the emperor is naked, they all see that the emperor's naked, but they go along with the illusion. They go along with the pretense, except for one boy who blurts it out. That might have been Jesus. You see, Jesus comes along and blurts it out. He gets cross with people. He tries to talk to people and explain to everyone, why are you so anxious? Why are you wanting this, that, and the other? Look at the birds of the air. Look at the animals. Look at the flowers. How many people listening to this and not listening to this are interested in standing alone, already happy, already joy, already delight? How many people want to grow up? It's not a case of growing up, it's a case of growing out, growing away from our childish and adolescent nonsense. We've got to surrender it all. This world is a mad, mad world. It's been mad for thousands of years. Religion is taken on as a consolation and as an ego, part of one's ego trip. We're better than you, sort of thing. I mean, look at this. Where was it? I've lost it now. It's a card advertising the local services. Anyway, this time of the year, well, here we are. You see, everything is to attract people into their fold. Come along and sing carols. Come along and have a hog roast. Come along and enjoy a mince pie with us. How is any of this going to transform the human being? Nicodemus went to Jesus late at night because he didn't want people to know, because he was an important person, was Nicodemus. He was a very religious man, highly respected. So there he is going to Jesus, humbling himself with this question, basically asking, how can I become more like you? And Jesus said, you have to be born again. You have to realize God, the Spirit. That which is always already the case. I love that phrase, always already the case. It was never born and it will never die. The open hand disposition of joy, happiness, love, restfulness, balance, equanimity, true sila. Look at Scrooge. Wonderful story. Charles Dickens knew a thing or two. Did he invent Christmas? I know Queen Victoria and Prince Albert brought over the Christmas tree. So it's not very old, is it, the festivity of Christmas? But no, there's no doubt it follows the paganistic tradition. So there's Charles Dickens writing the wonderful Christmas Carol story. And I believe all the copies that were printed initially were sold out within a few days. We're not asked to become Scrooge. We are asked to become the converted Scrooge, where we simply realize how selfish and egoistic and we are throughout the year. The open hand disposition embraces all the festivities. The disposition of mankind must change. Maturity, true adulthood, must come about. or this greed, it's not going to end until ego death, the death of this, takes place in each individual. I'm ready to embrace anyone who comes my way. Why are we so fearful of the other? What we do is to ease that fear, that anxiety, with one another, with pleasantries and chocolates and liquor. We look for distractions so that we don't feel the body-mind in its raw state. We don't want to feel what my teacher used to call the self-contraction. We don't want to feel that, because if we did feel it and had nowhere else to go, we would turn to God. Truly turn to that presence, that divine state, that love. Which transcends the usual man. We've got to surrender, not to one another, not to religion, not to society. We have to surrender to our true self, our true state. And then we can dance and really, really live a life of true maturity. Let's find a little passage here. This wonderful little book full of succinct essays called Compulsory Dancing. And everyone is always seeking to be happy. This book is about being happy, about recognizing the true nature of happiness and being willing to be happy in every moment, now, and now. The truth is, real God and life is sufficient in and of itself. We are not separate from that. We are only happy in ecstatic or self-released communion with that. To release the entire body-mind into communion with the radiant and unknowable divine reality is happiness. And that's the key word, unknowable. It's not of the mind. It's an inherent, innate, intuitive feeling. It is not that the act of such release produces effects in us that are happiness, rather it's the sacrifice or communion itself that is happiness. We must surrender to and into the present God, which is our true reality with a capital R. God is not elsewhere in relation to us now. God is always present, alive as all beings. God is a state. God is our truest feeling ever. God is not some man up there with a white beard, ready to pounce on you or to give you a certain mark. Yeah, 5 out of 8 or 7 out of 10, or yes, he did well there, but not so well there. Does he deserve to come through the gates of heaven into the gates of into heaven? Is he going to be? No, he's not. No, he's not. He hasn't got the criteria. He's not fitting the criteria at the moment. Our obligation is not to invert and go elsewhere, trying to find God inwardly, nor to extrovert, not to, be adolescent and like a teenager, full of excitement and whatever, and exploit ourselves in the self-possessed or anti-ecstatic mood that presumes God to be absent or non-existent. Our obligation is to awaken beyond ourselves, beyond the phenomena of body and mind, into that in which body and mind inhere. We've got to forget ourselves, stop dwelling on ourselves, stop being a victim of ourselves all the time. We've got to live in that disposition that is truly our innate, inherent disposition, which is a transcendental place of love, happiness, joy, delight, intimacy. These are the characteristics of God. They are the fruits of the Spirit. When we are thus awakened, our lives become the incarnation ritual of man, with a capital M, whereby only God is evident and only God is the process of the present and the future. That way of life is not bound to this world or any other world, nor to any form of attention in body or mind. Rather, the way of life is ecstatic, God-made, free, radiant, and always already happy. Do you understand? We're talking about, the key word is already. Ice is already water. It's not necessarily seen to be water because it's in the solid form. And that's like the self-contraction. The ice, like the body mind or the clenched fist disposition, must be melted, and then it will merge into what it already is. Ice being water. No separate sense. It dissolves and merges. This is not something of the mind. I'm not mentally describing something. It's heartfelt, it's intuitive, it's God-made. We are also self-possessed. When you go and visit someone, you take yourself to that person and you want acknowledgement and you want to be recognized and you want their love and their affection and the same. It's always this going to the other. The open hand disposition is truly the only way to make a difference in this world and in your circumstance. Take courage, be courageous, be like Nicodemus. We don't know the fate of Nicodemus. There's no ego here. There's no egoic destiny here. You are present. You are present right now. You are already in relationship right now. There's no separation, no separative activity. There's a stillness, a quietness, a peace. That doesn't mean that I can't be loud. The open hand disposition is loud and powerful. The Spirit is powerful. God is powerful. And you see that this nonsense was just imaginary, all in the head. You can still do the same things. There's the saying, before enlightenment I cooked rice, and after enlightenment I cooked rice. The body mind still needs to be fed and clothed, and money has to be earned. But the disposition is no longer one of being self-possessed, grabbing, being a victim. Do you ever sit quietly, really quiet, really still, with no coming or going? I have realized that which has been the desire of thousands and thousands of people over hundreds of years to realize. There truly is nowhere to go. Nowhere. When you're in this disposition, you are always in this disposition, wherever you are. Wherever the body-mind is. Real God is always found, always accessible. There is no right action. There is no perfect action. There is no action that needs to change right now. Nothing in the conditional world needs to change right now for one to realize this disposition. It's a graceful happening. Simply turn away from this to that. Fall in love. Fall out of love with this and in love with this. See the pretence of the world. See the ridiculousness of it all, just as the small boy saw clearly and announced it to the world The emperor's in the altogether. It's a hard matter. Come and be hugged and embraced by me. Done.